Hi, my name is Claire.
Hi, my name is Clara, and this is the Connect Life Stories.
And today we're going to talk about relationships, dating, and all the fun stuff. Initially, I think relationships was just dating and more of the romantic stuff. If someone asked me how's your relationship, I would refer to the romantic one. But now I consider friendships, and then there's work friends, and then there's, other friends, and dating as well, and platonic relationships as well.
Yeah. For me, relationships is it starts with myself. What is the relationship I have with myself? The relationship I have with my God, with my family, and then friends as well. And of course, the romantic relationship. That's how I define relationships. It's all the essence of interacting with yourself and everybody around you.
My relationship with others before self-care was a mess. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm someone who I didn't learn about boundaries till 2020. And why I keep saying about boundaries is because if you're someone who gives and gives, you don't have time for yourself and you don't take care of yourself. Yeah. So I was most of the time burnt out. I would constantly, fall out with friends because I'm not understanding why they're not doing things certain ways, and I'm not seeing red flags with romantic relationships. So pre-self-care was a mess, pretty much. Yeah.
As well for me, things I would stand in a romantic relationship. Oh, I'm so sorry for my former self. Now I look back and think, why was I doing that? But I guess at that time I thought this is the only person I'm ever going to be with. I'll never meet somebody else, so I might as well stick it out. Yeah. Poor me. I don't mean to be, but that was not loving myself enough to be like, yeah, I don't deserve situations like this. So I feel like I took advantage of people, or somebody took advantage of me in terms of kindness or whatever, or putting up with so many things that is not good for you. So yeah, that was my relationships. Not that I am there with my self-care. It is a work in progress, It's never a destination. You always grow, right? So yeah, now I know my boundaries, and that is important, and at least I know that I deserve the very best. So yeah.
For me, because I did most of my adult life here without my mom or immediate family to sort of guide me and tell me, no, those friends are taking advantage of you. I had the mistakes I feel like I've made, which I look back and think, well, happened. But I did allow people to really take advantage of my kindness. I would go over and beyond. So first, for example, at uni, I remember I'd have assignments and the assignments were due, but I would go, out of my way to help people, to, help them move houses, or, just fix them.
And you're supposed to
and then put myself last. I know I'm supposed to be doing assignments, and then I'd end up doing my assignments either too late or, rushing and doing it, giving it so little time. Yeah, I just feel like me now, if I went back to that time then, I would have definitely said, listen, I do not have capacity to do this right now. I have this and this and that, and that's it. But then I also made so many excuses, and I let people just, take advantage. Yeah.
Personally, for me, I'll point out a romantic where I was so giving or willing to. I'll give an example. Communication is important in any romantic, even platonic relationship. Mm. Yeah. So communication is very important to me. So someone goes 2 days, 3 days without even a text, and when I question that, they get annoyed. Oh, you're being insecure. And I would be like, oh yeah, I am being insecure. I'm sorry. That happened in my early 20s with this particular person, and he kept saying, oh, I'm being insecure. But was that asking too much?
No.
I'm like, I'm okay, I'm busy at the moment, I'll talk to you when I have the time. Is that too much to ask? Really? But I would believe that I am the one being insecure in the relationship because I expect him to check on me. And I was texting and there's no reply. Because at least if I wasn't texting as well, that would have been like nobody's communicating, but I'm checking up on you, but there's no response. And then you're like, oh no, I was just trying to see if you're insecure with the relationship. What?
Yeah, that happened to me in my late 20s. So it happens.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sad though.
Yeah, very sad.
I actually went to therapy because there came a time when I just wanted to figure out like who am I, and past all this, who's Claire and what do I want? And I remember asking that question, like, why is it that I give so much sometimes and don't get or receive a certain capacity? And she actually pointed something out, that somehow we've also grown up seeing women in a certain way giving out so much, especially in relationships. So part of us, I think, thinks that it's okay to give and give and give. And if someone's not reciprocating that love or that level, it's fine. They will come to change, or it'll be better sometime. So I kind of feel like that's also another reason.
We will love them so much that they will change and reciprocate.
Or like we should. And also, well, that me no way, but I've also had this discussion where some ladies feel like, like that's what we need to, that's the sort of love or level we need to get. Like you don't expect more because you've not seen more, you've not witnessed how that would work. So you sort of say, what, that's how guys are. So it's fine if he doesn't text you 2-3 days. That's fine.
Guys.
Yeah. So yeah, that's part of I feel like a reason.
So you reckon we don't know any better? We don't have examples of like thriving relationships in our lives, or we have seen our parents or like the older generations that we looked up to, like all the society we come from, it's the woman is like sort of like a lesser, is it lesser?
Like she's the one who has to take, she's the one who has to, between the two of them, be the person who understands whatever is going on with the guy. And I feel like that's another reason, but we don't realize it. But it is.
It is in us. It's that we don't even realize it when we are doing it.
Yeah. I used to have a conversation with my mom, and she used to tell me that the person that you first meet in uni is most likely not the person you're going to end up sharing your life with.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was like, let me just focus on me. Let me finish uni. And then my dad on the other side would say, you need to be independent. You need to have your own, especially financially, just because he's like, look, I'm a man and I don't see why if you're capable, you should be able to fend for yourself. So somehow it was ingrained in my mind that until I get to that point where I'm able to stand on my feet financially, I will then look at a relationship a bit more serious. However, that did not stop that I had a lot of heartbreak, because even then I went into these relationships not realizing that people are flawed and we all have like our childhood traumas. We all have massive red flags that are red flags. At that time they looked pink or yellow.
Yeah.
But so it's age, yes. But let me say yes, it's age.
For me, growing up, I looked at when you finish high school, when you go to uni, the person you date in high school most likely usually ends up in my circle being your husband. So in my mind, I knew that I'm meeting my husband in first year, first sem, first day, I guess. Well, it doesn't happen like that. So that is why for me, I went there with the expectation that this is going to be a serious relationship. So my first boyfriend, I took it like, this is going to be... That's why I stayed with him even after the infidelity, because I thought like, we have to work for it. It's not
fix it.
Bless. Yeah. So at that age, I thought that for me, I thought that was the age like you're supposed to start getting into a serious relationship, because after uni you work for maybe a year and then you get married. That's what I thought genuinely. So was I young or was I naive into thinking that?
No, I actually don't think so. I think it's just people are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even if, like I said, I was taught that or thought that, it's still after, you still can't help it. Like you put your heart in it and you want it to work out, and this guy is telling you everything under the sun, moon, stars that you think is actually true, but it's not. So, yeah, I think it happens to anyone.
Okay.
I wish I had read more about certain, especially psychology, because I feel like I focus so much on finishing uni and the rest is like noise. But I failed to understand that because I'm still dating someone, I still need to give that time basically, or put knowledge, or seek knowledge in that department. And I feel like I wish I would have probably looked at, listened to podcasts, read books, something to grow my knowledge about relationships and men and women and dating, and and how to even, and first of all about myself. But yeah.
For me, for a very long time, you have this ideal of a man in your head, right? And
True.
you're expecting the real life version of what you have in your head, and then you're surprised you're not meeting them. Like a man or like a friend does not live up to that, you're out of the way. Or you look for, tall, dark and handsome has been coined over the ages, right? And I think maybe the movies told us that. So, financially secure man who's tall, dark and handsome with like biceps and like big legs, or whatever it is that your fantasy is. So I was looking for that. And then when someone who's really genuine is interested in me, but they don't live up to that,
You're like, no.
I'm like, no. And then the people I think are ideal for me usually end up, and then I stick it out there because this is my ideal person, right? I'm like, yeah, this is, my Prince Charming. But the good guy is, not to say that like the ideal person for you doesn't exist, but you know what, we have to be realistic at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all human. I'm also not 100% for somebody, right? So I am expecting, not 100% in the sense that
I agree.
yeah,
No. Yes.
So my thing was, I'm looking for this person in my head, and I'm projecting that onto the other person, and nobody will ever live up to something that you've coined in your fantasy. So that was my downfall. So if me now, the older version of me, I would tell that younger version, be open-minded. Be open-minded to different. I'll point out something that I know this is very superficial. I always looked at height. I'm a pretty tall girl.
Yeah.
So if somebody is shorter than me and amazing guy, ticks everything else, it's a no for me. I don't even look beyond that. But now I'm more of I'm open-minded.
Yeah. I have gotten to understand myself so much better, which is why I was like, because I feel like the more you love yourself, you understand what works for you and what are the non-negotiables
I see.
and what are the negotiables.
Yeah.
So for me, because I'm a Christian person, I really want someone, let me just put it together, like I want someone who has the same beliefs and is working towards the same goal in life. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the superficial part, I think, obviously someone who's good looking, but good looking is very subjective.
It's very
it varies.
relative, yeah.
For me, it's mostly the core beliefs of a person. That's what is a deal breaker or, maker. What works for you?
My ideal partner is communication. That is, I think I have struggled with that. So somebody who communicates what they want and very truthful and very honest with where they are in life. That is, honestly, the older I've become, the honesty is the ideal. But that honesty, then again, is not something that you look at and be like, yep, this is someone who's honest. You have to wait it out and see if somebody is honest. But my ideal person, if I was honesty, communication, That is very key to me, and someone who's working towards the same goals as I am,
Yeah,
as you
for
said.
sure.
Yeah. Religious beliefs. Not so much, as I understand. Like we're in a very multicultural environment, so
Yeah.
as long as someone is a good person,
Yeah, true.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've found dating, especially the cultural differences from back home and here, what a guy expects from you here and what a guy expects from you at home is totally different. I'll be frank, back home, you'll date somebody for 3 months, 6 months without them expecting sex or anything, right? Or like a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
But here, it's almost a given that you go on. And it's not everybody. I want to make that out there. It's not everybody.
Disclaimer.
A disclaimer. But I have been on dates where somebody would expect, since they bought me a meal, it's going to happen that
Yeah.
night.
Sad.
It's very sad. So that was one of the things that was a bit different from how I was dating back home and here. Like the physicality of a relationship
Yeah.
comes much sooner in this cultural setting compared to back home. That is, I think, the biggest difference that I've seen. Yeah.
I actually thought it would be anyway. But yeah, I feel like dating, for me, it's just age, I guess. Oh, with time, let me not say it's specifically age, but I feel like when I was younger, there was so many, maybe it's also because of my self-awareness. There was so many guys and it was like, you could date whoever you want. But now, as I get older, and I'm more, not even older, it's more self-aware. There's more very non-negotiables that I'm like, you know what, I'd rather be alone. So dating is, I feel like it's more tricky, to be honest, but it's not, I'm really not complaining. Not that much. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to find someone suitable, but I look at it on the positive note that it sort of sieves out all these people who I really don't need to be, tolerating. And yeah, I guess, like I said, you know yourself, you know what you like, you're able to communicate it in a very nice way. So yeah, it's more tricky, but I'm not complaining.
Do you have like a preference? Do you have like, is there like, we were talking about ideal, are you more inclined to date I mean, as I said, multicultural in racial lines, or is there a preference, or if someone is good to you, you're more open-minded?
I've thought about this question so many times. I think for me, it's the person. Like, yes, I'm more inclined towards East Africans, but if I met someone who's traveled, gone to Kenya, understands our culture, and, is from another culture or ethnic background, I would not mind at all. So yeah, for me, it's just core beliefs, like your values, who you are, what you want, what role you play around the people, like in society, and to the people you are around. Then that's what matters. So
do you
yeah.
reckon it's easier when you're with somebody from the same background as you? Do you understand each other more, or is it just a work in progress?
I think it differs, don't you think? Every person.
Yes.
Every person.
Yes.
What's your preference?
As if someone is good to me, if someone
Yeah.
is kind, is communication is there,
Yeah.
my ideal mind. I'm open-minded to any. And a dishonest person is a no for me. I always feel like as an adult, you know what you want or where you are in a situation. What I don't like is, you're not ready for a relationship, yeah? And you're stringing me along. I feel very strongly about this. Like, someone meets you and they know very well they're not looking for a relationship, but they don't put it out there. So in your mind, you think you're in the same place, and for him, it's just a good time, right? And then down the road, you're like, oh, you're asking, where is this going? And they're like, no, we never had the talk. So dishonesty, I would rather you be honest, forthright with what you want. So that is a deal breaker for me.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Don't you think though, like after a certain point, not all guys, there's very good guys out there, but like, I find that it's not, you find a lot of people who are not honest.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them, it's not even knowingly, like they basically, yes, it's not that they, okay, let me put it this way.
Do you unknowingly?
No, let me put it this way. Like they will lead you on without knowing. Yes, I know. I'm like, no, let me just explain because, because for example, right? And I'm 100% with you on that page.
Yeah.
I would love it in an ideal world. A guy would come and say, look, Clara, I'm not ready for this relationship. So I'm just going to let you go. But this is like, come on. Most guys would still be like, wow, Clara is pretty. I'm just going to go ahead. Let me see where this goes. Let me just, and you would say, oh, do you want a long time? Yeah, I do. With you? No. I mean, not no, but I don't know, right? But the answer is yes, I do in the long run. And so you end up dating this person. And then you end up, you get to a point because your expectation is not the same as this person. So they start doing certain things like going quiet or doing, whatever, like you mentioned. And they want what you want, but they're not realizing that they're not putting in the work and they're not even at that point yet. So
that's true.
You know what I learned? I read this book, can't remember the name, but it's by Chapman. And basically it's about using, like, we need to find a way to read through and look past someone's facade. That's the one thing I wish I taught my 20-something-year-old. I would go back in time and teach her how to do this. But it's good to like learn how to look past someone's facade. For example, someone will be like, hey, yeah, I want a long-term relationship. I want to, marry you. I want us to do all these things and build a business and do all that stuff, right? But they've said they want to build a business, but then they have probably still in uni or they have no clue. They don't work. They just, that's really not someone who's serious, right? So I'm learning, or I've learned the hard way, school character development. I've learned the hard way to start looking past people's facade and just look at what you see is what you get. And with people, and that's what I love about dating at this point. There's no way someone is going to come and tell you, when I'm older, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the CEO, blah, 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 blah. But they have absolutely no plan. They're not even started. Like what you see is what you get. So that's one thing I'd try and take back so that I can understand if someone is honest or not. And that way you're able to read it as a red flag, like, so yeah. But yes, honesty is a huge
non-negotiable for me.
Huge.
I think we got to be careful as well. As you rightly pointed out, there's a thin line between actually trying to see if someone is honest or you're just being judgmental, you're just being too picky. We really need to, the open-minded, I'll go back to the open-mindedness. And also, you've said something right, just see things as they are.
Yeah.
Like if someone is telling you and you can see it, actually believe that. Why are you trying to look for cracks when you can't see the cracks, but you're still trying to look for? So believe what you see and what you hear, and actions never lie.
True.
Right? So if someone is actioning that they are actually honest, they're doing the right things, believe that at the risk of sounding like we are being judgmental or anything, just what you see is what you get. I like what you say.
Yeah. I think also the part for cynical, I used to think, oh my gosh, am I going to not... It's the same, let me put it this way. The same way you think that, no, I don't want to look at someone's negatives, is the same way you could also, in the opposite way, say that every negative is okay to deal with, which is what I was doing before. I used to look at it like, oh, am I really going to pass a nice guy because he's doing all these things? And that's okay. So it's the same way. But with time, what I've understood is being, like, I started on this journey on working on myself. Financially, emotionally, like just everything. So I'm not having to rely on another guy for any of that part. So when it comes to looking at him, it's from a very objective point of view. You know, like for example, if financially, if the guy is like, oh yeah, I want to, I want to be this person who's a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. I understand what it is, how to manage my money really well now more than ever. So I will not be over judgmental when this person tells me, oh yeah, you know what? I have a 70,000 a year job, but I don't even have savings. And even if he doesn't have savings, then, what are you spending on? So I deal with facts. It's not, well, I think this way because of this and that. It's not black and white. So yeah, there is that risk, but I think the more you put that energy on learning about what's the facts and how things are in psychology and step away from it, like without putting your emotions in it, then you deal with someone as what you see is what you get. Because they could be really bad with their finances, but they're really hardworking, which is what I was before learning how to, manage my finances. Or they could be, and that's okay. That's not, they could be bad with their finances, but they lie and cheat and all that stuff,
No.
So yeah, it's about that balance. Yeah. So yeah, there's a risk, but
you just have to choose what you can
deal with.
Yeah, what you can deal with. But I don't like that statement as well. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say
it leaves a very sore.
What is a non-negotiable? Yes, because you really don't need to deal with anything.
Because again, now we'll start asking, what are the negatives that you can deal with? No.
So yeah, another thing I've actually realized is, another thing is the intention of someone that plays a huge role, because
absolutely
you could discuss something with someone and say, listen, I don't like X, Y, and Z, and then you will see the actions towards changing it. For me, that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Between the person who you're telling X, Y, and Z, and it's like, yeah, you're the one with the problem, like, forget it.
Absolutely.
So I think, yeah, actions do, like you said, actions do.
They never lie.
They tell a lot.
Yeah. How I view a relationship progression is not how you would look at a relationship progression, right?
True.
Like, for somebody else, maybe being introduced to a friend is a relationship progression. For some, it is maybe meeting a relative or I don't know, what is your relationship to show that the seriousness of a relationship. I hear you that there's actions, but at the risk of sometimes, this is how it should be, like in month 3 or month 6 or 1 year we should have moved in together. I feel like if someone is continuously showing you that they are for you, they are supporting you, and they are actually, if they are saying that I love you and you can see it, believe what they are saying and believe the action, not how society views. Don't you think?
Like, I agree, but to a certain extent, I'm like, there's a risky part, because, and talking from experience, you could be with someone who is, taking you out, doing all those little things you like, because they know you like them. But it's still leading you on. Yes, it's still leading you on.
Is something wrong with that though? Like, they know
that
I like that.
That's a good thing. Yeah. However, I feel like, how you're saying when you discuss these things initially, there's a difference between that progression, like you said, and sharing the same way of it. For example, I was reading something and basically the lady had dated this guy for 6 years. And when they started, they discussed that, the progression should be a certain way and, family and everything. Yes, she's obviously in 6 years, she's met like the entire family. But when you look at the guy, her concern was he's not in any sense ready to settle down, like permanently. So she is at that point, she's like, I love everything he does, but then what? And then I think there's also that thing of, I don't know if I'm going to find someone who's good and we're already used to each other, so what's the point? And then someone else came in and was giving her this, whole debate of, you just rather rip out the bandage and move forward. So yeah, I do agree, but at the same time, yes, progression does not look the same. But if you've discussed it initially and both of you are happy to just, you know, maneuver as you go and take your sweet time, then yeah, all good.
Do you reckon, like, at the beginning of a relationship, should we have that discussion, like, this is how I would like, since we're both in the same page, like, this is a serious relationship, should you have, like, how, okay, fine, like, how, the direction?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't you think so? No?
Like, well,
or not month by month, like putting it on date.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I think I should start doing that then.
No, you know what? I think it's a good thing. Like, you know, when I was saying what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
For me, I've been in this, and that's one mistake I've made. I've been in so many relationships where, again, we're in a country where the culture is a bit different. And also, you don't know what they've assimilated and what they've left out. So back home, you know, you'd assume, oh, yeah, you take your, you know, you meet this person's family and they'll start asking him, so this is a girl, you know, when are you going to get things official? Here, people are back home sometimes, or it's just different even if they're here.
Yeah.
I feel like when you have the discussion with someone, and not in a very, so when are we going to do this? It's just more of, so where do you see your next 5 years? Like, tell me how that looks like.
Okay.
If you're not in the picture, you're not in the, like, if, and by then probably you've, you know, gone a few dates and you sort of figured, you know, like each other, and it's known that you both like each other. But if the person's not taking into any consideration even settling, or they want to travel, they want to do this, want to do that. And you know what? I think even asked that question a few times. I think, to be honest, for me, as girls, I feel like I've found myself not listening and understanding. It's just like, okay, I have this conversation and it's like, yeah, whatever. I hear what I want to hear. But I'm not quite listening to the person. They're telling me they are not ready to settle. In fact, you're just here for the ride. But to me, it was like, okay, I think I picked out 1, 2, 3 things that I like and they like, so this should work. But yeah, I feel like it's good to have that conversation. But also when you're having that conversation, prepare yourself to listen. Like, literally step out of the emotions and just listen to what this person is saying and where they're at. And don't be angry at this person. Just understand that that's where they're at. And things might change, but then, yeah, it's good if you find that guy who's honest and say, look, right now, I'm not really, I don't have the time and the capacity. But they always say, yeah, but you know, I like you, and you know, when we, in a few months, but that's someone who's basically told you right now, expect this, don't expect that. So go in there expecting this little.
To your discussion, I was seeing somebody who said, let's see where things go.
Red flag, yeah?
Yeah.
Woo, massive red flag.
But in saying that,
Yeah.
we were good.
Of course.
Have you met someone you're just in sync?
Like this.
He's saying that, but me, I'm looking at how we are. So down the road, I'm like, oh, we are dating, right? What? What do you mean we are dating? I said we are seeing where things go. So it's very important to, when you say that, listen to what somebody is. Don't interpret what you think they are saying. Listen exactly. Yeah. So we can all guess what happened to that relationship.
Yeah, God. You are left seeing where you're going yourself.
There you go.
By yourself.
By myself.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. Brokenness. Mother Teresa Claire here has fixed so many people, because these people are not fixable, literally. But yeah, at some point in my 20s, I was like, oh, poor guy, they're going through all these things. Come, talk to me, let me know, let me be a psychologist and everything, a psychiatrist and all that. But with time, I've just gotten to learn that every single person has childhood trauma to a certain extent, but people deal with it differently. It's not a red flag, but it's what they do with it and what they're actually doing to heal it. one thing for sure, 100%, it is not your job to fix anyone. It's not your job to even deal with their drama and trauma.
No.
And I'm so glad life taught me that. Yeah, so it's not necessarily a red flag, but at the same time, it's the capacity to which it is. Are they, you know, for example, if someone grew up seeing their parents or their mom being beaten, and now they think that love is, you know, domestic abuse and, you know, violence, do they, when you have an argument, do they shout and then, you know, punch you and they're like, well, yeah, and then, you know, they cry and they say, oh my God, yeah, but that's what I grew up seeing. Mate, that's not, that's not okay. You know, so it's different for someone who's grown up with that sort of situation, but they acknowledge it and they're actually going through therapy or fixing it. And they say, hey, you know what, when it comes to arguments, please do not yell, because it takes me back there, or don't do X, Y, and Z, because this is what I've come from. So yeah.
As for me as well, like trauma is not a deal breaker or someone who's broken in one way or another. As long as they're aware of it and they're actively trying to get help for themselves, because it is not my job as a partner to sellotape on your brokenness. You can't even do that. Like, healing starts from within. So for me, it's not a deal breaker, but if you're aware of it and you're actively taking steps to build yourself up, that is okay with me. I will support you in my capacity as much as I can, but the healing has to start from.
Yeah, it's a personal journey.
It's a personal journey. I don't know where. I don't know about. This is generalizing, but I feel like sometimes we have this savior mentality. We are like, oh, come one, come all. Like, we are not trained to handle some situations that you want to take somebody through childhood trauma or like emotional trauma, or you're going through your own trauma. Everybody has a journey or whatever it is that trauma looks different for everybody. Yeah. So you cannot take on what you don't understand, right?
Sure.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's also what we grew up seeing. Like I said, you know, we're so used to this idea of a woman being so strong and she can deal with anyone and the man's crap. And, you know, and you're holding him and you're just like, no, this is how he was brought up. Oh, yeah, like, you know, but he's my man. I have to say, it's commendable that we are those women who are changing that narrative. Yeah. But again, I've had so many discussions I have platonic friendships as well, guys. And they say, oh no, you know, I'm looking for my mom. And I'm like, listen, your mom is your moms raised us to not take that kind of level of disrespect and to stay away from that. And they're like, what? I'm like, yes, we were taught to cook, clean, be the best person, you know, at work, do everything right, but do not tolerate this certain amount, because they didn't know much or any different until a certain time or years had passed on in that, you know, marriage. Yeah. But yeah.
Having financial independence makes dating so much easier.
Yes.
It makes
fun.
It takes away from what a person can do for you. I can do that for myself. So what else are you offering? So for me, having the financial independence has made my dating so much easier, because you can't surprise me, or you can't shock me, or you can't pour money to me to love
blind you.
No.
Love bomb you.
Love bombing, that is the word.
I was gonna say exactly that. Like,
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
For me, financial independence is the way to go, ladies.
Oh my God, it's sweet, Clara. That, just like you said it, like before being financially independent, I've never, again, felt like I should depend on guys just because of what my dad drilled into my mind. But I have to say, it was amazing being taken to this restaurant, and I'm like, oh, and I don't even know how much the bill is. But then now I look at it like, let's just move that aside. Who are you? What do you want? Who are you? What do you, like, let's sit down. And then they're like, oh, no, but I'm paying. No, I can pay. That's fine. And then there's that question of, on the first date, who do you want a guy to pay on? And I'm like, that's the list of our problems right now. That
Amen.
is I can even pay all the other dates, but that's the list of our problems. Right now, who are you? So it's so fun. It's amazing. And another thing that I love is it's already sifted out a whole bunch of guys who are jokers. I have to say, I love it. I just love it. So there's such, when people approach you, you're just like, listen, you must be, you must be on, like, yeah. So I love it. Before that, it's like, yeah, anyone could just approach you and, but you apparently, you look a certain way when you're financially independent. And I hear guys saying, oh, you look like you have your own thing going on. And I'm like, yeah. And you look like this and that. I'm like, yeah. But then, yeah, it's fun.
But that's not to say we don't like nice things, okay? Still take us to the fancy restaurants.
Of course.
Hey.
We take ourselves there. That's why. But the thing is, like Clara said, it's not shocking. It's not like, oh my gosh, I've never been to this restaurant, or I can't afford this. You can, and it's fun. And we actually don't even, I think we're one of those people who don't sort of throw it in someone's face. Yeah, we really appreciate the kind gesture, because we're like, now we even understand you have your bills, you have all these things to pay, but you've chosen to actually be nice and
You went out of your
so
way.
yeah, now it does also mean a lot to me, because I'm like, wow, like you've put some money and thought into it. But it doesn't shock us. It does not. The one thing that, and we didn't even have time to like go over it, but the one thing that I find needs to be repeated over and over again is, you do not have to settle down by 30. Like, age does not define the time when you need to have done certain things in your life. Yeah. Because we have this sort of societal pressure that we have to do this by 30. I don't know, it's 30, but it has to be 30 and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely read books. I've read so many books now. There's certain things like, well, it depends on what you like, but Relationship Goals by Mike Todd, that's a really good one. Like, he's straight up and tells you, yeah. I don't know, I'm forgetting the one by Chapman, but yeah, there's another one. But it basically talks about compatibility in relationships, more than, like how you guys, rather than looking at all these other exterior things and all that stuff. There's so many podcasts that are really good as well. And for me, I have also that benefit or advantage that I work with much older people in the community, so I talk to them. And they have so much advice about life, and they will tell you as it is. Although it's a different generation, but they've seen different generations, they've seen time. So I think speaking to much older people who have that good relationship dynamic, don't just talk to anyone. Because people will give you advice according to what they believe. And that's one thing I should have taught my young self. Don't just pick whatever information, like compare it, fact check it. Someone will tell you, oh, no, it's okay for, guys show you love when they slap you around. That's what they grew up seeing. Probably that's what they deal with, but no. So yeah, don't just take any information, like check it. And yeah. So I'd say that.
For me, it's being teachable. I would really advise all of us, or regardless of our age, be teachable. Don't be so set in your ways that a criticism, even if it's a positive criticism, you're already defensive about it. We are learning. We are learning as people. Like, every day is not the same, and just because something is true today does not necessarily mean it's going to be true down the road. And another thing is, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And then you keep having failed relationships over and over and over. And then you're not self-reflecting. I mean, the common denominator with all those relationships is you, right? Like, it doesn't matter what they've done. At the end of the day, if you don't come and be like, what have you contributed to
True.
the failing of those relationships? If you are not going to self-reflect and change that, it will continuously happen, right? So always look within. I mean, the relation could have failed because of the other person, but look within. Don't always put blame on other people.
Look at it with grace. Yeah, like don't look at it in that sense of, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, why didn't I see this? Or why did I allow this person to do this? It happens, and it's sort of like I feel like it's life. It's a growing cycle. Yeah. So it's good to look at it with grace and understand that, you know what, now I know that I thought was a yellow flag, it's a red flag. It's a deal breaker and I shouldn't tolerate this. How did that make me feel? And what don't I want to change? And what do I need to change so that this doesn't happen? Or because I feel like life has a way of bringing the same lessons over and over again until you finally learn it. Like, it will even after you learn, I feel like there's just that one more that comes just to make sure that you've finally got it. Like, you got it.
Yeah.
So until you learn that lesson, life will constantly bring that same issue or whatever that you need to learn. Yeah.
Communication is another thing. Always communicate where you're at within your life, in terms of your friendships, in terms of your...
Yeah.
Always communicate. I feel like the number one killer of relationships, it doesn't matter if it's your friends or your partner, you don't communicate what you want, or so always communicate. My advice is communication. If you're happy, and where this notion that, oh, we have to stick it out to see if it's not working, and you have
Leave.
done, or if someone is abusing you, please, ladies, let's leave. If someone is, and not just physical, financial or emotional abuse, no, that's not like love or anything. Let's not endure. You have done all that you can, but I don't know what is it, because that it takes me back to when I was the lack of self-love.
Yeah.
And that, is it because that we think that this is our only shot at love?
I think so.
Yeah, it's not.
It's, a lot goes on. And I think also just find some level of happiness being single for even a short while. It might help just a tiny bit. Because in that time, like you said, you end up learning to love yourself. When you are single, you also get to heal, which we need to do. And you get to also look at, just everything with grace. Yeah. But it comes from.
And happiness is not a destination. It's not a person. It is not a place. It is not a job. It is a job. Happiness comes from within. So let's be happy within ourselves before we start, because that is expecting too much from somebody, that they'll make me happy or a job will fulfill me. You're supposed to fulfill yourself.
Don't expect someone to complete you.
Yeah.
Oh, please be a complete person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.